padded for?
Oh, just a vest.
Oh, it looks like some big pat, like you're really covered up for something. I don't know.
It does have kind of a shield-like look.
Yeah.
Sam,
I like that. Mark, what's happening? Good to see you, man.
brother, man, it's always great to see you, my friend.
Man, three bald guys with short beards.
Woohoo!
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I got the memo.
Yeah. You got to keep going, man. This is 2 weeks.
I noticed the only ones that don't have their cameras on because they feel inferior are the ones without bald heads.
You know, it's true.
They're hiding, is what they are.
You know, look at the great bold guys of our generation, right? Every one of them, from The Rock, from Bruce Willis, Jason Statham. I mean, guys.
Jean-Luc Picard.
There we go.
Thank you. Make it so, number one.
He's back.
I want to see that so much. I've been traveling. I haven't had a chance to catch the show. I've just heard that it's the bomb.
Oh, we got people coming in now. Okay. Cool. Awesome.
So are they, has the gates been lifted? Are we here?
Yeah, we're at 65 people are in so far.
70. Wonderful.
65 attendees and 70 total with us.
We are going to rock the house.
Right. Oh, there's Alex. Alex is.
And they're still coming in. Let me pop you guys onto my other screen. Welcome, guys. We're going to get started in a few moments. Again, as always, we're waiting for everybody to come into the room. And we will get started.
Now, what you do is right at a certain point when you know the last people have started to come in, you go, and that's the greatest stuff. And I'm glad you guys were here early to catch it.
I've done that. Actually, it's happened. It happened on my last Releasing Mastery call. A bunch of guys came in right after I shared what I think was the most important piece. And I was like, well, you guys better go back and watch the replay.
Watch the recording, yeah. And don't be late next time.
Everybody was all excited talking about it. And they're like, what? And I'm like, I'm not going back over it.
By the way, I'm here in Ukraine, and we have something you don't get there in America, hemp energy drink. I'm just saying, brothers.
Yeah, hemp.
Gotta have that hemp.
Okay. I never heard of it an energy drink before, but it's good.
Okay, there we go. I'm getting all my windows open so I can see everybody. Hi guys, I can see all your chat now. I just popped it up.
Yeah.
Everybody's saying hi right now.
Woohoo.
Let's see. Let's check the attendee list. Oh,
there you go. That's right.
Hey Becky, what's up? That's my sister.
Oh, right on.
We got Gary Cars in the house.
Hey Gary, what's up, man? Oh, it's pretty late there. It's not too late though. No, it's not too late. That's right. We planned these at 11 a.m. so everybody in Europe could see these too.
Mm-hmm.
Have the idea behind them. See if my other sister's here. Curious. No, she's lagging. Okay. Are you ready to get started?
Brother, you and I were born ready. The world's catching up with us.
That's right. That's right. So welcome everybody. This is Mark Edward Davis. For those of you that don't know him, a lot of you already do though, because I've had him on the YouTube channel a few times. We've had him at a few events, and Mark is a good friend of mine. We've actually hung out together, traveled in different parts of the world together, and I'm muting my phone. Sorry about that, guys.
Oh, good call.
And he is a man of action and a leader of men. He has he's had a company for years where he helps to develop men out in their confidence around getting married and helps them to find their beautiful, wonderful brides. You have over 300 marriages?
Yeah, we're probably most like 350. It was almost a year ago I stopped counting at 300, and it just dawned on me, wow, we're doing something pretty cool here. The cool part was that we realized, because we keep track of everybody, that we had only about 3% divorced in 10 years. So... Yeah. You know, it's nice. It's a good feeling. But somebody's asked me today, it's like, you know, why do I do the things I'm doing now? Why am I into the books and the teaching? And I said, well, all the time, even when I was helping guys find dates and matchmaking, to me, the thing and you love most is seeing guys' hearts come to life, see them be empowered and healed. And so it doesn't matter how I manifest that, whether it's, you know, teaching a guy, empowering him in any way in life, you know, if I can help him find a life partner, if that's what he needs in that moment, great. But this is what we do, brother. We
And
love
that's
it.
what you basically moved on to, as you've moved on to really, because you got that business running, but now I
Yeah.
see your new passions being born is to help men
Yeah.
become leaders in
Yeah.
society, help them go out and take the world to a better place through groundedness, through confidence, through getting past fear and so forth. And that's what the movement you're really getting into right now with the whole COVID-19 thing is. It seems like you're really inspired and on fire because you contacted us like, I got this great idea. And you're writing a book about it. How to Lead in Crisis is the name of the book. Is that book done yet?
It's out. You can go right now to Amazon and get it. How to Lead in Crisis. It pops right up on the search engine. How to Lead in Crisis. And today we're going to cover some of that. And I'm going to give you guys a free part of it as a PDF that I developed. It's a really cool graphically impacting 20-pager. But I got to tell you, it's one of those things where, and I hope every book I do feels like this, but I feel like this is a culmination of life work, and the timing is so needed right now for this. And yet when we get through it, what I love about good teaching is everybody feels like, oh yeah, I kind of knew that, and so the wisdom is simple. It's not complex, but God, we need reminder of what's sane and what's real and what we're supposed to be doing as men right now. Yes, I'm going crazy.
Good. It's perfect.
In a good way for men. Let's go.
I'm super curious. Were you writing this book before this happened?
Yes.
Wow. It's like it was created for you. COVID was created for you. No.
Well, in a way, I have a monthly program. Every month I come out with a different topic. And I did one on, like most men coaches do, on confidence and finding your purpose. And I had early in January, when this thing first came up and it was really not a big deal, I just did a webinar to my guys like you're doing right now. And I had a 5-point outline about, what do guys do in crisis? And it was about, just to let you guys know, these things can come about fast. About 3 weeks ago, I just hit the wall with frustration. And I took that thing, and I really have spent probably 70% of my waking hours the last 3 weeks then making this into a book. But man, I'm disappointed in men, even some of the mentors I've seen who, the guys I love, who spend most of their time on their Instagrams just going like, well, guys, here we are, another day in the crisis, just trying to hold it together and survive. I'm going, survive? We're men. We don't just survive. God, that's just baby shit talk. Can I cuss on this show? I'm sorry, I didn't mean to.
All you want.
All right.
Yeah,
you know what I'm saying, Brian?
I totally know what you're saying. It's how you show up in the time of crisis is, and this isn't. There's been much worse crises than these.
Yeah.
How you show up in a time of crisis is indicative of who you really are at the deep core level. Anybody can lead and take charge when things are easy, when the economy's booming.
Right.
But you see the real. There's a few quotes around this. I don't know the quotes, but you see the real, I guess, quality of a man, his integrity, who he is as a being when times are tough. Does he show up?
That's right.
Does he collapse? Does he fall apart? Does he, and then you'll also see that the most successful people in the world actually become more successful during a time of crisis and come out of it. And it was like Firestone that created the Firestone tire brand during the Great Depression. And everybody's like tired down. And he's like, what do people need right now? Because this is depressions. People need something. They need a cheap tire so they can get around and get to their jobs. So even then the retread tire, and built the whole Firestone brand off of that.
Yeah.
And that's how successful people think. So the question is, are you sitting at home just binge watching Netflix? Or are you actually out creating value? Are you out helping people to grow? And that's where men, real, true, not just men and women, everybody shines. So do you want to talk about that?
Yeah, in fact, let me do, if you don't mind, I want to do a couple things because, I realize you and I are friends. We've known each other. My guys know who I am. But, for guys who don't know me, I want to let you know one of the things I respect, not only about Brian, but about all you guys. And I want to let you know I'm with you on this is the fact that we're born out of struggle. And in my journey, my first wife betrayed me. A lot of you guys have had people cheat. My second wife passed away. And that was a 7.5-year struggle I had helping her get through mental illness. And I lost my 30s just trying to care for her. I went through depression after that. I lost everything in the '08 crash, and I had a 5,000 square foot house and Jaguars and 7 investment properties. Lost everything, moved into a little apartment. And I think about over the years, even after sucking it up and hurting deeply over those major losses. One of those in the middle birthed a 7-figure business that took to 5.5 million, and then the '08 crash killed it. But then out of that, I built then, this business, which has got to about 7 figures. And really my life calling and passion came out of it from teaching. And so I thank God. I can't think anything else except for to thank my parents. My dad was a pastor, for kind of trying to have a different perspective on what's important in life. That every time I had an internal determination that says, I don't care what hits me, I'm going to protect my attitude. I am going to be optimistic. I want to be happy. I want to enjoy life. And if I let the poison that comes on me identify me and say, I am this person. I am a victim. I am the one who is betrayed. I am the one who lost this. I lost. If I am the I lost person, that's just, then I lose the lessons and I lose that piece of my life, and I carry it with me like baggage. I've always been determined. I want to get this off me as quick as I can, because I want to be free to enjoy life. I want to go grab the next thing that comes and bask in it and just feel joy and elation. And I'm the struggle I have is some of that stuff I believe isn't as much taught as it is caught. And I think it has to do with the people you hang with. And I think intentionally we spend time with guys who have that attitude, that resilience. You sort of adapt it. And this is why I love what you're doing, because the more the guys come on a show like this and they hear attitudes like that, it changes the way they view their world and their own thing. And they get out of a victim mentality, because victim mentality is never masculine. It's never acceptable. And I want that to be, we talked about this before, as much as we use the buzzword right now, the contagion era. So we use some of that buzzwords. As much as worry, fear, all these things are contagious. You adapt it with the little drip that comes in with the media and other people around you. But same thing with energy and optimism and exuberance is contagious. You get around people like that and you get caught up into it. So it's critical to not only protect your heart, your mind, and attitude, but proactively decide to get involved with people who carry that attitude and that way of view of life. First and foremost, as a foundation, guys, you have to love and honor yourself and your own journey enough and protect your heart enough to, and you guys are the ones, I'm preaching to the choir here, you're doing it by showing up. I thank you. I laud you. I respect you so much, because you're saying, I'm important. My journey is important. My heart's important. I want to stay fired up. I want to be above this. I want to feel alive. I am not going to be the one sucked down into the muck and the mud of this shitty time we're in, that most people are just, they're getting buried in it. And by the end of this call, I promise you, we are going to be taking the hill and fully alive and enjoying life. And that's where we need to live every day. I just wanted to get that out.
Nice. Feel better now?
I do. I'm telling you, I'm really glad I wrote this book and I'm doing these interviews, because I have so much of this has been pent up. I just want to just create a momentum here and bring guys along.
But
one thing,
let me ask you a question. You said in the shitty time we're in, but is it a shitty time? I walked outside yesterday. The birds are singing. The sun's out. I took a long walk. I went to Home Depot. I picked up some stuff I needed for the house. I'm like, it was a beautiful day. It's like,
I received that. I correct myself. As soon as the words came out of my mouth, I go, I don't really believe that. I think when I say that, I'm thinking to myself, the way people are responding into it is painful right now. I hate watching it. I just did I do a little Instagram things, like 3-minute things. I just did one called Bask in the Glory of the day. And I literally did that standing by the river out here, and the sun was shining, the birds were singing, and not many people were out. And I'm just going, how do you not just bask in the glory of everything that's around you? Right. And so when I say that it's a shitty time, I don't mean our life.
I can hear the preacher's son, by the way.
I do.
It sounds like the preacher's son. Yeah. So go for it. That's good.
Thank you. I received that rebuke and I repent. One thing I want to touch on that you mentioned, and guys, I want you to understand this. We're going to do a little mind shift right here. So let's do our first mind shift today, if guys haven't already. And I did get this from my pastor's dad, who told me, he says, Mark, for those guys who grew up in church, and don't spin off on that, guys. Don't get religious on me right now. But this is a lesson moment. I want you just to take the lesson out of this. He goes, those people who have gone up, they really have an emotional connection to the guy who's their pastor. And here's the reason why. It's because that person is with them at moments of high emotional intensity in their life. In other words, when they're married, who marries them? It's the pastor becomes their friend. When they have a child born, a lot of times the pastor comes to the hospital to greet them. When there's a funeral, the high emotions are there and they're there doing the service. And somebody gets in the hospital, the pastor comes and visits them and he goes, so Mark, please pay attention in your life when people are at emotional peak states. A lot of people hide from it. They don't know what to do with people. My friend, I don't know what to do with my friend. He lost his mother. They just kind of back away. He goes, no. He goes, when people are at peak emotions, be there as that reassuring calm in the storm. Not that you can do anything for them. It doesn't matter what you do or what you say, because nobody's going to remember it later anyway. But the fact that you were present when they had these, they will bond and remember you for life. And so as a leader of men, this is a time when the world is going to be experiencing a lot of emotions, and we're not the ones to shrink away. If it's somebody we love, we want to be there for them. And not that we're doing this for like nil intent to oh, I want you to remember me forever, so I'm going to show up. But it's like, literally, if you care for somebody and you want to, I just want to give you an incentive and a reason not to shrink away, but to intentionally be part of people's lives right now. So they'll remember, when we were all shaking down like this, I remember Brian, he was cool for me. He really gave me a feeling of comfort. And the little things you do, and it's not even doing anything or saying anything, it's showing up and being present in somebody's life when they're emotional. Is valuable beyond what you possibly understand. And right now there's an opportunity when people are going through these cycles for you to be somebody that you make an impression on them for the rest of their life.
Yeah, I would agree 1,000%. That's 90% of what we do is as elders, as we become older and older and more mature as individuals, our ability to keep others calm, to ground them, create a space for them when they're scared is part of our job. And part of what makes the elder so wise. You always see it in the movies, right? You got the young guy who's out of control and rambunctious and wants to change the world, and he's pushing and pulling and yanking and he's trying to force things. And you got the older guy who's just calm in the background. The young guy can't understand why he's calm, but by the end, as he goes through his hero's journey, he begins to realize that when you make decisions from that calm, clear, non-pushing place, they tend to work better. Everything comes together. Everything works and happens, and it all comes down to how you feel inside when you make the decision. And so I want to ask you about that really quick, because I was looking at some of the stuff that's in your book here, and is destroying more is worry destroying more lives than the virus, and I think that's such a beautiful little statement. It's the one that stands out to me almost the most, because when we look at the fear that we've created in our society right now. We've shut down the economy over fear. We've social distancing over fear. We're not sending kids to school over fear. And all to protect people from this virus. It makes me wonder how many other people are losing their lives due to other reasons now, losing their jobs, losing their careers, and then that all equals a loss of life, all out of fear. And so, can you talk a little bit about, why fear is so bad? And in none of these cases, matter of fact, even them shutting down the economy, you don't have to be scared. And even because it's going to come back, everything goes in cycles. And even if they didn't shut down the economy, there's plenty of things you could do. So why is this fear so destructive?
You and I think it was October of last year, maybe it was December, when I bunked at your house for a while. And we had such a great couple of days that were very rich and meaningful to both of us, I think. And we had some great conversations. And one of them was how much at the time, and so we're going back 6 months now, you and I were having the conversations about the epigenetic talks. And when we were talking from an epigenetic standpoint, that when you enter into a state of fear, you activate stress hormones in the body, and it biologically changes you. And two main ways that they talk about is, one, your ancestry you can't avoid. It's the way you're wired, and it's good for us. I mean, originally, like I love the example from Bruce, Dr. Bruce Lipton. He says, if the saber-toothed tiger comes, you better want to be able to run faster or fight harder, and so all your blood goes to your muscles, your limbs. And it reduces it literally lowers your immune system, because it doesn't matter if you have a cold if you get eaten. So living in stress, is a state that reduces it. Now, you're not supposed to live chronically in stress. And this is the problem we have today. It's like the tiger comes, you fend it off, you scare it away. Okay, you're calmed down. You go back to normal, you start gardening again. You're driving in your car and somebody cut you off, you almost hit them, you have to swerve, and you give them the finger, and then a few minutes later you're back to normal again. That's normal. And
yeah, they show animals doing this. If you really quick, they'll show an animal get chased by a gazelle will get chased by a lion. Maybe it'll even get caught by the lion, but the lion gets distracted and it gets away. And they'll show it that it'll jump and shake off all the energy, and then it's right back to normal with the herd again, and hops back into the herd. It doesn't hold on to it. And we're the only animal that sits and does what you're doing, what you're talking about.
So on one hand, let's talk about the first biological aspect of the immune system. It lowers your immune system. And what we know, in this, Dr. Joe Dispenza talks about this, within your body, you're currently carrying probably every disease on the planet already. It's just dormant, and your immune system keeps it at bay. And so, but they're called opportunistic germs and viruses that sit there. And so if you lower the guard, then they can manifest themselves. And so when we live this daily diet of the news media and people stress around us, and we live in this tense state upon us, and God bless it. I was here spending time with one of my staff here, and she can't shake it. And I don't know what to do to help her. And she lives this constant nervous energy all about her in this, and she can't. And you know me, most of my staff are very optimistic. They're like me, but I can't get it out of her, and it hurts me, and it bothers me, and it bothers her. She knows she can see it, but she can't rid herself of it. And so because of that, you watch her have more headaches. You watch her have chronic pain, little things that she had come back, and so, and she's just in her 30s something. She's a healthy young woman. So, but what about other people who've had things dormant that are going to now flourish and take over, and things that they've kept at bay that can kill them? And I truly believe those are the unmarked victims, and not of the coronavirus, of the stress culture, what I call the worry culture we live in. And I call it the worry culture because there's aspects of stress that are good and bad. You can have stress, distress, and I don't want to get into that, but worry is a universal word. It's the worry culture. But the second thing I want to mention to guys that I think is equally important is the other aspect that happens when we're in the fight or flight biochemistry, is that that our cognitive being, the 40% of our brain that's in our frontal lobe, where we live and we have our creative life, can process about 4,000 bits per second, and because we can only focus on one or two things at a time. That's good. We have to. The rest of our subconscious is processing 4 million bits per second of everything else and sorting it out to give us what's important. But the problem is, because our subconscious is so good at multitasking and taking everything in at once and processing it for us, when we go into a fight or flight mechanism, our subconscious is better. Like if we have to fight and we need a reflex, it'll pick things up before it comes in. You can have reflexes where also you catch something, that you never would have if you could have, if you're just in your brain, but you need that. The problem is, when we're in a constant state of nervous energy, literally what we're doing is surrendering a part of our decision-making process to our emotional brain, our lizard brain. We're living in a state of emotion, and we're literally pushing our decision-making power and the empowerment of our mental life into the emotional space, which can't process things as accurately. It's doing it out of reflex. And it literally lowers our IQ, by the way. So we guys who end up living with chronic stress, and I'm saying these guys are good. It's not you, but we're talking about the people we see all around us. It's like they're literally dumber. Okay. So have a little pity on them. They're emotionally living and they're dumber. So it's like, they'll get past this, but please understand them right now. Trying to reason with them may not be as possible as it will later.
Yeah, I often think that IQ is just not related to, and I've thought about this a lot, doing a lot of mind work. It's not related to this literal idea that your brain sometimes works better. It's how you use it. I think that a lot of it has to do with when you're in worry. Joe Dispenza talks about you're on the side of your brain, right? And this section that works in fear. And then when you're focused and driven and you're going to accomplish a goal, you're typically in the frontal lobe. And he was talking about how when you get in that side brain, you're constantly distracted. So you try to think about a solution, but your mind is constantly distracting you away. So that's why you probably seem stupider. But if you're in that frontal lobe, that thing can hold a focus like nobody's business, and some people under pressure actually pop right into their frontal lobe and they go for it. They're like, boom, and they're focused. Other people under pressure fall into that side of their brain and they can't get out. And, the question is, which are you? Some people are in the side of the brain all day long. As soon as there's pressure, they're in the frontal lobe. That's the only way. They got to go find pressure to get them in it. And some people just know how, like the Richard Branson of the world, know how to focus from here and make shit happen. So it's an interesting topic. I think it's fascinating when you think about it. I mean, that's me in my mind, how I think about things with the mind and how it works and stuff like that. And
Yeah, you and I both. We kind of boil it down to help it make sense because part of what the book is. I have a chapter in my book that, and it's in the free handout. One of the points I make is how to be the voice of reason right now. I mean, it's one thing.
That with you.
Okay, there you go. Look at that. I didn't.
I was like, there we're on the same page. I was gonna bring that stuff up. I was like, what do we start doing to really bring these leadership qualities out and the ability to be the voice of reason? What can we do to plan our future out? That type of stuff. So go for it, man.
Two totally separate plans and strategies. So first of all, we talk about the being the calm in the storm is the first point, and it's the anchor. It's the foundation for everything else we talk about, learning to be the calm in the storm. And that's being able to take the intensity, whether it's in an argument or the stress of life, and it just rolls off of you, and it's a gift, but I give some very good psychological tips on how to do that and live that way. The second point, though, it has to do with when you're being the voice of reason. Obviously, then we're talking about interacting with others. And first of all, you have to have the voice of reason within yourself, which means you have an understanding what you believe and that you're okay with it. So that way, if somebody comes along and they saw the latest YouTube video and they use these catchphrases like, well, everybody knows it and it's in all the media and everybody's saying it. No, not everybody's saying it, and doesn't make it true. It's like you can anchor yourself in just going, well, it's interesting. I'll check my sources and get back to you, but it's not going to shake you. And so first of all, being the voice of reason, it has to do with deciding what's important to you. And we've had this conversation. The thought's easy to trigger. It's like in these times, it kind of shakes us down to go, if everything's taken away, if my job were in jeopardy, we're having economic setbacks, my stock portfolio is gone, to the crapper. And I don't have my favorite place to go. I mean, I have a favorite place where I go 4 or 5 days a week where I'll have my dinner and a hookah. I love the hookah here. It's totally different than America. It's very calm. It's very calming, and it's not. But anyway, so I have my thing, and I don't have that. So what makes me happy? Because we have our anchor things. So what's life about? And people generally come down to thinking about, okay, what's really important is love, feeling connection, having brothers, having friendship, having interaction like this. There's something deep and rich about it. Legacy. What am I doing that actually will matter to somebody else, that I can love doing, that also impacts somebody else's life? What makes me happy? What can I do now that can still make me happy? Can I find my happy places here? And so when somebody else is having sort of the meltdown, and everything's burning, everything's coming down like this, the voice of reason goes, first of all, you empathize with them. Don't argue. You can, in these places, like I said, they're not dealing as much with their cognitive mind when they're in an emotional state. You're not going to reason with an emotional brain. You're going to have to bring them out of it and at least be where you are. And hopefully you can rescue them. So being the voice of reason is a rescue effort a little bit to try to bring them out of that lizard brain. And my technique is this. I got this, first of all, from sales, the empathy thing. It's the feel, felt, found strategy. If you haven't heard this, I got this when I was 22 years old in the sales course I got. Feel, felt, hey, I understand how you feel. I would feel the same way, based on everything that's going on. But what I found is this has taught me what's important in life. It really taught me, if we take everything else away, this is about friendships. It's about time to see that the sky is blue, to breathe and appreciate that life is short, and then you take them to a different place. But the feel, felt, found strategy is really helpful because you don't want to argue and say, look, you're an idiot. You're getting told up about nothing. It's not nothing to them. It's very important to them. And whether you think it's stupid that they feel it's important doesn't negate the fact they feel it's important. So look, I understand how you feel. I would probably feel the same way if I had this daily deluge of all this stuff. What I really found is I took this opportunity to think about what's really important in my life. And I'm thankful for every day, and right now you and I have a different barometer. When I passed 50, Michael Jackson passed away at 49. I said, I breathed more years of air in my lungs than Michael Jackson did. Now that I'm 57, I say it's more than Steve Jobs did. And I'm grateful for every moment of it. And so whether I live today while the world's doing this, or whether I do it when it's the bull market, it doesn't matter to me. I want to learn to find what's important. And I want, what you want to do in the voice of reason, say, and I want to carry these lessons with me, so I'll remember them next time and not get so hung up about, that I don't have the BMW and, instead of my Kia. It's let's get what's really important and really enjoy what's around us. I think that's the strategy for being the voice of reason.
I think it's a great strategy. I agree with you 100%, because I would rather, God, imagine, and I want everybody to think about this for a minute. And then I've never thought of it this way. You made me think this when I was listening to you. Would you rather live a whole long life filled with fear and running from, scared every day? Because some people do. They live their whole life worrying about, I'm going to catch this, I'm going to get this, I'm going to lose my money. Or would you rather maybe live a bit of a shorter life filled with love and connection, fullness and adventure? And to me, a life filled with fear is not a life lived. And I see a lot of people out there that are just buying into the fear, and they won't go get the facts. That's the part that intrigues me, is that I also find a big thing that helps people calm down is when they know the actual facts, and they won't go look for people that have the actual data and just listen to the data and say, oh, that makes sense. Because once you do, it just, no matter how good or bad it is, you can now make real plans. And unfortunately, if we're listening to dramatized data and from the media, and because the media loves to dramatize everything. So you got these, what are they called, one-off puff pieces, where this person, I breathed next to this person coughing, and a week later, I took it home to my family and everybody died. And I'm like, and this is all like anecdotal evidence. There's no, and we love, and then we buy into it. And so I said another big part of being the voice of reason, based on what you're saying, is stop watching dramatic news pieces and go get the data. It's huge. But so I see that you practice this in your life, because when I talk to you, like I will chat on Messenger and we chat, you're never upset, you're never bothered, and you talk about how excited you are each day. It's like this has only made you happier in a weird way. I hate to say it, that sounds bad, but it's almost like this has only made you happier. And
it's true. It's true. And I think, like you said, we're entering into sort of the sage era of our lives. In fact, Dr. Glover, our mutual friend, he and I were talking one time about, there's a missing piece of teaching out there in all of the self-help material, and that's how to become the sage and how to come into this era of your life. But I think there's something where it's like, when you've been through enough, you realize, what is it, not to sweat the small stuff, or whatever you want to say, but to enjoy, moments that you have. And I think especially for guys, and this can happen at any age. I think I was in my 20s when the first person close to me passed away, and then you start having a different appreciation of things. If anything, I mentioned this, and it's not in the book, but it's something I just did on one of my recent sort of like Instagram moments of the morning. I was thinking, remember the movie Saving Private Ryan?
Yeah.
And there's a moment in there that the whole movie came to this 2 words. The whole movie, all of it, came down to 2 words that Tom Hanks said. And it didn't even hit me as much what he meant till later. I just had to chew on it. I mean, literally for weeks. And when he's sitting there and he finally takes that fatal gunshot, the bullet, and he's bleeding out, and he grabs the kid and he just says, "Earn it," and I realize now, as I pondered it, what he really meant by that was, look, I'm literally giving you my life. I'm putting this down. I did this to say, I'm not going to have a life after today, so that you can. So you better make it good for both of us. You better have more fun. You better have more sex. You better have more joy. You better have more adventure, because now you got to live it for both of us. And I really think that's the meaning of what he said, earn it. I'm giving up, my day's done after today forward, so you can have yours. And I think there's an aspect of, when we're in a crisis moment, I look at it that way. People are in panic mode everywhere. And my response is, but I'm the one healthy. I'm the one alive. So shouldn't I be enjoying it for all of us? Shouldn't I be enjoying it that much more? Shouldn't I be grateful? Shouldn't I just thank you, God, that I have this? You know, shouldn't I just be even more grateful so I can, what I've been given the gift of health. I've been given the gift of energy. I've been given the gift to walk this day, to look at the sun, to walk in the trees, I was given this when there are other people, especially we're being reminded every day, you know, that people are dying, this kind of thing. The truth is people die every day, and they've been dying of more things than this, which is a whole nother aspect of it.
Heart attacks, car accidents, they're all, yeah, you die of
But guys, here's the problem, and I want to kill this right now, because this, you bring this to this moment, and I really want to nail this for everybody forevermore. We live in a time, because of the political correctness that we have, which creates this, they project their attitude on you, that you need to live in fear or you're insensitive. This is the attitude out there right now that's being thrown at you if you don't see it with your eyes open and reject it. The attitude that's being thrown at you right now, man, is that if you are not stressed, you're not sensitive to those in suffering. If you are not in panic mode, you're insensitive. How dare you have a good life? How dare you have fun? How dare you laugh when somebody else is suffering? Do we live every day the rest of our lives that way? Are we really going to do that? Reject that. Guys, reject it. Reject it. Reject it. You're Private Ryan, man. The truth is, because you're healthy, you have to live for everybody, full of joy. And you're the one healthy, so what? Guess what? So you can do your mission. You're the one healthy so that you can do what you're called to do and do it more. So if anything, this is your calling to rise up into joy, into energy, to say, if God gave me mental capacity to be sharp, to be healthy, what am I supposed to do with it? I want to go. I want to be involved. I want to laugh. I want to have joy. I want to embrace everything around me. And please reject this notion that you're not entitled to be happy because there's somebody else suffering. Kill that. Please flush it from your mind. Reject it from this culture. You don't have to get into its face. Don't get in somebody else's face, but protect your heart from it. You owe yourself joy, because out of joy and your happiness and your energy, only then can you do something for somebody else. Only then can you be the ambassador of hope. And guys, that is all of our calling. We have to be the ambassadors of hope. We have to be. And that means first you got to be strong. You know, the plane thing, we talked about this, right? They say in case of an emergency, airbags will pop down for the ceiling. Secure it on yourself before you help somebody else. It's the same. Secure yourself, man. Secure your heart. Secure your emotions, secure your energy, secure your love for life, love for who you've been given. As imperfect it is, guys, I'm a fucked up, flawed human being, man. I offend people. I do screwed up things, you know, and it's like you still got to wrap your arms around yourself and just go, but you know what? I'm here and I love being here, and whatever I can do is great. I love me, and I just want to enjoy my happiness, because only out of the overflow can you give to anybody else. If you're a dry, empty vacuum sucking in the sour lemon juice of woe is me, you got nothing to give anybody. And the purpose of masculinity is to lend your strength to those around you.
I love it. And I love the fact that it's kind of interesting that people that are scared aren't leaving their houses. So there are people out there actually spending a fortune every day on Uber Eats and stuff like this because they won't leave their house. And they were talking about the ridiculous amount of money they're spending just to get food. And I thought about, that's perfect, because I don't want those people around me anyways when I'm out going to the grocery store and stuff, because those people are just going to create more fear anyways. They can just
stay home. Stay home.
And then the other part that made me laugh is how many people touch your food before you even receive it? Maybe cough on it, touch it, and how many hands does it go through? You're just as much risk as the guy who probably went down to the grocery store with his face mask on. And so I love your talk, because you can't drop down to the level of somebody's thinking, their emotional level, and expect them to rise up. Now, I'm not going to go to sadness and be sad with you or fear with you and expect you to come into courage. You have to be courageous and living in courage and joy and acceptance, and then invite other people to join you if they don't want to. And this brings me to a Facebook post. Watching you posted about something. I don't remember what it was, but it was about being positive in this time of need. And it was really good post. And this guy comes on and he's just going at you why you should be terrified. No, you need to be scared. He was saying this in the post. You need to be scared. You need to understand this is terrible. This is why. And he's listing all the reasons you should be scared. And I just watched you. You were like, no, not going to do it. You know, and eventually you disengaged him because you're completely irrational, and there was no point in engaging that energy. And do you remember that post?
I deal with it every day. So, I mean, I don't know which one it was. I have another one today, in fact, you know, so I still deal with it. And some you can, and it's a good point, because we talk about being the voice of reason. Some guys you can help bring around to what's important in life and calm them. And some guys you just can't, because they're still in their lizard brain and they own it. And here's the problem. It's addictive, because it's a dopamine feed. It's addictive to live in that chemical energy state. It's like a guy who can stay on a video game for 12 hours a day, because you get addicted to the tension and the stress. And some people won't leave it, and that's, bless them. Just let them go. Hope they stay home and they have Uber Eats.
Yeah. There's a really good little video. It's a documentary on the guys who ended up crashing in the Andes, the soccer team. They ended up having to eat. Some of them actually had to eat each other to survive. They were stuck up in there for their plane crashed, and they were stuck up there for
Sick story, movie.
Yeah, and it's based on a true story. And they were stuck in the mountains for up to 60 some days. They got out. The only reason they got out, because a lot of them wanted to hide in the fuselage, what's left of the plane, and just they were cuddling in there, and then they were cuddling up in there and hiding, and they didn't want to leave. They were terrified to go outside, and slowly they would venture out. And there were one or two guys, especially one in particular, that got really courageous, and he stopped being scared. He was one that was actually originally knocked out, and he survived because they laid him outside kind of in the cold, and the cold reduced the brain swelling. And then he woke up, and he became the leader of the group. When everybody was terrified, he'd go, you know what, I'll go out there. Don't worry, guys. And he goes to, find some more equipment. He goes to find this, and he goes a little farther and a little farther. He's the one that eventually got the balls, because everybody else wanted to hide in the plane. The world had given up on them, thought they were all dead. Nobody was searching for them. It was 60 some days. And he got the balls to say, you know what? Even if I die, I'm going to climb out of here, and I'm going to die trying. You guys can all sit in this fuselage. He climbed all the way out, walked for days. I had to climb the face of this mountain with snow and everything, and I got all the way out, and then he got the helicopters back to rescue the others. Here's the interesting part. Because he was so courageous and didn't live in fear, not only did he survive, and he said what drove him was he didn't want them to eat his mother and his sister and somebody else. So I don't think it was his mother. I can't remember. But he didn't want them to eat them. They were buried in the snow, but he told him, if I don't come back and you need to eat them, go for it. And that was part of what drove him. What also drove him is he wanted to live. And when he got out and survived, and they rescued everybody and everybody was celebrating, he had let go of so much fear of living and fear of dying that he had the most full life, I think, of all of them. You've tracked his life across his lifetime. Race car driver, big businessman, big family, tons of love. He was fully living because he was no longer living in fear. And I think that's exactly what you're teaching in this book. Is that not true?
It is true. It is true. And you become a bigger person. And in fact, I got the quote right finally in my book. I used to credit Einstein with this, and it wasn't. But there's a quote that says, once the mind has been expanded to a new thought, it never regains its original shape. And so literally, the book is my book. Right now, it's somebody in the chat says, what book is that? My book. It just came out today, guys. Today. Celebrate. This is the day. And it's called How to Lead in Crisis. That simple, 5 words, How to Lead in Crisis, on Amazon. And today, before we're done too, I'm going to give you a chance to get a part of that.
Can you find a link and post it in the chat? I'd appreciate that, man.
Right on. And by the way, thank you for the guys. You guys in the chat have really just been very gracious to me, and I'm very grateful for it. Your comments are fantastic. Hang on a second. Hang on, I got distracted. One of the things in the book is true, is that when you learn how to do this, you're never the same. You will, for the rest of your life, handle things this way, because you've learned, you've adapted these truths as your own. And you become a person where you realize, I really have a style of a preacher. I grew up with it. I'm sorry. It's the way it is. My dad was a preacher. Okay. In fact, all these preacher kid stories aside, it was actually a very gracious thing to do, because when we would go places, my dad would help me observe people and observe how they're responding, because when we would go listen to other people talk, he goes, watch right now. Do you see in the room? You see how he's lost him and he's not even paying attention? And to me, these are things you learn. And so when you go through this book, and right now is the time to do it, you're in the middle of it, everything is going to make sense to you because you're living this every day. And what you'll do is you'll adapt this as styles that you now do to handle everything in life going forward. This is going to be a blessing for you. In fact, Brian, while you're right there, you've got it right in front of you. in the list, read the chapter titles, read just the 9 chapter titles.
Yeah, I was looking at some that I want you to talk about here, actually,
Sure.
as you said that. But we got Be the Calm in the Storm, How to Be the Voice of Reason, Go Ahead of the Storm,
Get ahead of the storm. Mm-hmm.
Being Resourceful in Times of Crisis, Be the Leader Your People Need, Making Good Decisions Under Pressure. I really want you to get into that one because that's super important. Decision is so powerful in life. Confront Attitudes of Fear. That's another great one. How do you confront fear, your own fear and other fear? Lead with a vision of the other side of the crisis. Lead your community. And yeah, that's it. There was another thing there that was actually more about you. Okay.
It's okay.
So that's it. Good stuff.
Yeah.
Man.
Yeah, and you guys are very simple truths, and what each one has a very practical way to adapt it is a mind shift to think differently, and you'll become that person for the rest of your life, and you'll be glad you did because it anchors you. And like I said, I think 3 times in the book I come back to that analogy of like, put the oxygen mask on you first, before you try to help somebody else out, and you want to be able to be a man that gives out of overflow because you're filled, you are good. And one of the Achilles heel weaknesses that all males have is our fear of not being enough when tested. And honestly, if you have to for a while, just make it your, and I use this term, a positive Tourette's. So if every day you just spout out, I got this, I got this, I got this, that'll be so therapeutic for you like you can't believe. And I want you to be full on that. What are the points you wanted to bring up again? I'd be happy to hit on them.
Well, one of the things I talk about a lot is these making good decisions or making decisions, period, because that's what gets you out of passivity into action and gets results in the world, right? A decision, you got to make a decision, takes you into tension. So can you talk about making good decisions? Because that, to me, if you're sitting on your couch and you're not doing anything in your life, you're not making money, you don't have a business, it starts with a decision. So
it is. And there are, I think in the book, there's 4 different levels of decisions that you make ongoing. And there's we call the snap decision, where you just decide something without really thought. A lot of that is occupied by your lizard brain, and some of that's good. Some of the decisions you make are, like we have this conversation. You and I are walking down the street, and all of a sudden I have a great idea. Well, I don't have to stop walking in order to talk to you. The rest of my subconscious takes over and keeps going. And some guys have done this when you drive a car. You ever wake up one morning halfway on the commute and you don't even remember getting there? How did I get here? You don't even remember, right? Well, somehow you did safely. So there's a part of some decisions that go on your subconscious, and sometimes we need to question them. It's like, what am I habitually doing that I'm not even thinking about, that I should question and reevaluate and maybe change the way you habitually do some things without thought? The second thing is a reactive decision. And that's when you have to make a decision about something. And again, 95, probably 98% of the time we make even here A or B choices of decisions in life, we do them based on how we always did them before. And so the thing to learn is to pause. And let's talk about 2 decisions that are very helpful right now in this time frame to help. One is to have a reflective decision, and then one is to consider the length of impact on your life the decision is. So the normal one in your daily life, you have a decision whether I need to go A or B, or somebody's in your face and you need to decide how to deal with it. And especially sometimes we deal with women in drama. They're putting drama in your face and you need to rise a little bit above it so you're not sucked into the vortex. And the way you do that is as it comes to you, you have to intentionally pull your brain back into your frontal lobe. You have to get it out of the emotional reflex, because as soon as you feel threatened or afraid in any way, shape, or form, your subconscious goes into defense mode. And the best one who brought this out, and this isn't in the book, but you've heard the story before from Mel Robbins, who wrote the book, The 5-Second Rule. And she discovered this, is that when she would be in bed in the morning, and she constantly, like for a year of her life, had this habit of always hitting the snooze button. And she learned that, whenever I hit the snooze button, I find my brain starting to react and give me more reasons to stay in bed. And she learned that what's really happening is that if you made a decision to do something and you hesitate, your brain goes, why are you hesitating? We were going to do this. There must be something wrong. There must be something wrong. So we should protect ourselves. There's got to be something wrong out there. Okay, listen, don't do it. Then here's the reason why you shouldn't, and don't do it more. And don't do it. And so your brain will give you reasons not to. So hesitation, one, will actually engage your subconscious with a fear emotional mechanism to override your logical brain. So what I'm going to, and same thing with a woman's in front of you, she's getting in your face, you're emotionally getting in, you just want to get out of it. You want nothing but to get out of it. And so for whether it's a friend who's freaked out about the coronavirus, whether it's a woman in your face, whether it's like, you need to make a decision, man. In any of those cases, learn to do what Jocko Willink teaches. You know, he was this Navy SEAL commander. He said, we'd be in fire, man. There'd be bullets coming this way. We'd hear mortar explosion going over there. And he says, typically what happens is that you have to make a quick decision because you feel like your life's in danger and you got to move. But he says, I found even in those circumstances, if I pause for 2 to 10 seconds, just to step back and in slow motion almost for him, he says, just to observe what's going on. Okay, where is the fire coming from? All right, who are my guys? Where are they right now? Okay, and then he says, it's just amazing how all of a sudden the decision-making becomes so easy and so obvious. But because because you bring it up to your attention, your creative mind, you're the place where you can own it. The problem is we live so much in this emotional space and we just want out of it. And so every part of our decision making is about avoiding a confrontation, avoiding a bad feeling, avoiding a fear. And the truth is, if you can take a deep breath, one of the techniques I teach is like Mel Robbins' thing where she would literally out loud count 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. And there's something about saying that pulls it out of your emotions, brings it back up front. You own it. You take it out. You take it away from your emotion brain. You take it back. You're in control. And then immediately you get to 1, you stand up and do something or make a declaration. Well, you're having a conversation. You can't say to somebody's face 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. They'll lock you up. It's crazy. But what you can do is for the moment, and this is really, you see now, as soon as I tell you this, you're going to notice they're really smart guys who do this to you. They've done it to you. What you do is you learn to immediately focus on your breathing. And so they tell you this too, if you can't sleep at night, just think about literally the pathway of the air entering the nostrils, going to the back of the throat, what it feels like going down your esophagus, filling your lungs. And it's just enough of a mental effort to have to think about that it pulls you out of your emotional brain, pulls you back to your frontal cortex and allows you to be rational again and not as emotionally engaged. And so it's just a brilliant way to help take yourself out of it. Because if we're talking about making good decisions under crisis, you got to be in a good place to make the decision. And honestly, for a lot of times, being under pressure and distress and emotional tension and all the negative emotional fears that want to feed you. Because remember, a fear is simply the advanced anticipation of a negative outcome. That's what fear is. Something that hasn't happened yet. You're anticipating a bad outcome. Optimism is the anticipation of a good outcome of the same situation. Neither one of them change the situation, but they change you. So a fear, it changes the way you're going to react to the situation because you're anticipating the worst case scenario. Optimism changes you because you anticipate it working out good. So you start moving in a way that's going to make it work out good. So the critical thing in making a decision under pressure is to put yourself in the best place where you can make a decision that's going to move towards what's going to turn out good. And people criticize me because I come across as an optimist, but what's the fucking alternative? It's just like, let's expect it to go bad and manifest it. Yeah, see, I told you.
I think where the optimist gets that mocked a lot, right? And
the bad rap.
Yeah, it's because you see these guys that are actually scared trying to talk like an optimist. Right? They're terrified, but using the words of an optimist, and you can see they're incongruent versus the guy who's actually like, no, I'm going to, because the body is going to follow the emotions, right? Mm-hmm. So if you're filled with fear, but you're going, nope, going to make a good decision, I don't know, there's a problem there. So you got to learn to deal with that fear. Now, you did say something that was a little contradictory. I want to ask you to clear it up a little bit. You talk about Mel Robbins making a 5-second decision, the 5-second rule. Back in the old pickup days, Mystery would say the 3-second rule, and then you were saying that the Navy SEAL might step back and Special Forces guy might step back and take a 5 to 10 second pause. Mm-hmm. Can you talk about the difference between those two? Because I've seen guys when they get real advanced, they can work pause, but
I think because the question is how do you make a decision under pressure?
Yeah,
is the question,
right?
And
so the question I would have as I'm listening to you is, do I pause or do I go within 5 seconds?
Look, and if you're in a good state, and let me teach you something else. Let's get past that. Let's get above it. I always want to teach. I always want to teach people to go even a step above. Let's see this the way it really should be. What I'm actually, and I've been doing personal therapy sessions too, with counseling with guys, coaching with guys. And the first thing I do is, after listening, getting into their stuff, I say, let's put you in a place of positive momentum. And because when a guy's in momentum, he's good. I mean, let's face it, you don't have to teach these things if a guy's just on a roll. Life is good. He just won the lottery, right? You don't have to teach him anything. It just is, and it's attractive. So the problem is getting people into that mindset. Vince Lombardi is the one who says, when you're winning, nothing hurts, but when you're losing, everything hurts. And so one of the things I would shift is, if you're going into a situation, whether it's you're going to meet somebody, you're going to do a presentation, or you're going to have to see your mother. I mean, whatever it is, what I like to think is, first thing in the morning, take 3 of the things you're going to do during the day and do a 1-minute visualization on each. Do it clear, do it emotional, engage it, live it, close your eyes and see yourself going in there and having the most incredible experience in that situation. You can even use this. I've had to use this for one time when I had to fire a guy, that it ached me and I hated doing it. And, by the time we had the conversation, he knew it was coming, because he knew he had really just kind of set himself up for it. But it's like, I imagined being into that environment, whatever it was. You're thinking meeting a girl, you're talking about doing a presentation. Imagine everything from the moment you go into the room, the people, where they are, the energy, how you feel, how you deliver it, how people receive you, and just everything. Even if it's just going to have a beer with a friend, imagine it just being amazing. Your chances of creating that are just magnified so much more. So what Mel Robbins and all these other guys are doing is having to do it on the spot. So you're hit with something and you haven't had a chance to visualize it coming out good. So it's on you right now. And so what you have to acknowledge is that when something hits you, and we're in a place of, again, making good decisions under pressure, is lifting the pressure. And being in a place where I want to do what I want to do, not because I'm being pressured to do it. And maybe I'll do the same thing, and maybe I'll make the same decision I would have being pressured by somebody else, or maybe I won't, but then I'll own it. And so at the end of the day, that's all it is. Buy yourself a little bit of time, take the breath, think about it, and you can think about, what are they really trying to say? What's behind this? One of the great questions, especially if somebody else is bringing the drama, it's like, why is this bothering them? You know what I'm saying? Let's elevate this and get above what's in your face. And in fact, you can ask that question if you need to buy some time and get some space between this pressure, because I can tell this really bothers you. Tell me why. Tell me more. And then you'll get in a much better place to answer the question when you see what's underneath it. But the real thing is, for us, if we as men, mature men, can recognize when there's pressure and use whatever technique ends up working for you, take a breath, mentally put things in slow motion, do a 5-second rule, do a 3-second rule, whatever it is for you that you need. You got to get control, because if you violate those 3 to 5 seconds, your subconscious and your emotions will take over, and you're going to do stuff based on emotional decisions. And how many times do we kick ourselves for making emotional decisions? And we go, I knew I should have been better. I knew it would have been different. The woulda, shoulda, couldas catch up with us, when all we had to do was pause for a second, collect ourselves, not let there be, the pressure. And that's all we can do, and we're going to still make mistakes, but at least we'll own it, and not feel like I did it because I was pressured.
Yeah. A life where you don't make decisions is not a life lived.
That's it.
You're not doing anything. You're sitting on your couch all day.
No.
So I'd much rather make decisions, fail, get back up and take action.
But I wanted my decisions.
Yeah.
Not because somebody pressured me.
That's the whole point. Yeah. You got to make your decisions. So you were talking about the frontal lobe earlier. Mm-hmm. And you were talking about how some people, they can't get it. You got to get in that frontal lobe to make a good decision, right? Mm-hmm. Some people really have a hard time staying in their frontal lobe. People that worry tend to pop out of their frontal lobe like that. They get in there, they're out. Do you have any type of techniques, or have you ever worked on anything to help develop somebody's ability to stay in their frontal lobe?
If somebody chronically is doing that, it's because there's a trigger. And so this is one of those things where it does get more into counseling. And so I'll give you an example. And so sometimes you got to know yourself, and sometimes you can't by yourself. This is where you need a guy like Brian, you need Sam, you need other people who can sit and listen to you and really find what that trigger point is and break it. Because once it's broken, you're free for life. You're free. I had a young guy who had been dating a lady for 2 years, and they were tight. And she goes, I found her. I'm done. I'm 26 years old. My business is good. I got partners. We're growing. I found my lady, but I can't pull the trigger. And he goes, is it a fear of commitment? He goes, I don't have commitment issues anywhere else. What is the deal? And so we boiled it down to this. When he was 8 years old, his dad left, and he was the youngest of six. And his mom really just, out of her emotional pain, just poured herself into him and just ended up babying him and going to all his games. And he didn't knowingly realize, but she was making him a surrogate husband for her to fill that void. And this happens a lot. It's called emotional incest. And you realize all of his life growing up, he realized he wanted to be there for his mother. Nobody could put words into this. You don't know this is happening. But he realized he couldn't. He's 8 years old. He's not a 40-year-old man trying to be a husband. And so he always felt this lack. And he tells me this super successful young guy. He goes, I just know if I marry her, she's going to find out that I'm going to fail and I can't be enough for her. I'm going, enough for her? Are you freaking kidding me? Do you know what most 20-something millennials are like? And when we pointed this out, we found this point, this trigger that was spawning this nervous reflex, this thing that just made him, I can't do it, I can't do it, I can't do it. Literally 24 hours, he was done. The next day, they ended up having a family lunch, and he could sit there going, oh my God, he's right. I see it now. I see it. Oh my God. And so there's a point where if you can have the breakthrough to find out what's triggering you, sometimes that alone cures it. You think about the 12-step programs. What's step number 1? Acknowledge you got a problem. Well, you got to find the problem. What is the problem? And so a guy keeps getting triggered into fear, triggered into insecurity. There's something in there he's afraid of that's going to happen. And again, it's a negative projection of something that's going to happen if he does this thing. And it always comes back to, I'm not enough, and people will find me out. And it's a fear of a loss, a fear of many things. But you got to find out what that fear is. And then you got to have somebody help you untie the emotion to it, that it's not going to kill you. You're fine. We're all human. It's okay. Go right through the fear. And on the other side of the fear is freedom and glory. It's hard to give a psychological answer in a short 5-minute window, but that's kind of the best I can do. I lost you. Your mic's off.
Mute. I mute button like 3 times.
Okay.
To do it here.
So it's hard. It's hard to answer that question, but that's, I don't know. What would you say?
Go ahead and post it in the link there in the chat. I'm having him post a link to your book on Amazon. So just put it in the chat anytime. And I think it's a great answer. It's all this stuff takes time. You got to develop it. And I always talk about the 1% rule, man. If you get 1% better a day, you're going to have an amazing life. Because the compounding interest on that will eventually skyrocket into quantum leaps all over the place. And so,
right on.
So doing all that. So I highly recommend, Jonathan's just posted a link into the chat. Check out Mark's book if you want to learn more about how to lead in a crisis. Buy Mark's book. Actually, no. We got
you got your own link?
I think we have our own link there. The Fearless Man
cool.
/ Total Man. There you go. And that works perfectly. So
I do want to do this though.
I'd
like to get I want to get you guys to the free PDF, because you guys can share it, and that way you can get connected with me as well. And we talked about this before. So if you want to put in there your link to the free PDF, then that's easy too. And if you guys do go and buy the book, it's only $14.95 because it's only about a 100-page book. It's worth it. It's a quick read. It's conversational. I write like I talk. You'll enjoy it either way. But what if you do go to Amazon and buy the book, please go back and give me a 5-star rating. It's brand new, just came out today. We'll need all of those we can do. I believe that too. Cool. Bully's like, I love quick reads. I'm going to do a bunch of them. I just want to do these quick ones. You can get a thought, you grab it and go. I'm never going to write a 500-page book. To me, I like getting a quick thought. It will be on Kindle. You can pre-order. It should be out on by tomorrow. So it will be on Kindle as well. So get the paperback. Brian, I'm sure we'll do an email later when it comes out.
We talked about this PDF, the handout, the free handout. Do we have a link to that too? So we can give them the free handout? You gave us
That's
one.
that's the one I shared on the link.
Okay, so that's for
In
the
the
free
chat
handout, not
box.
for the book
Yes.
itself. Okay, and then the book's on Amazon. Okay, good. So we're pretty much covered. Yeah, when I was saying that earlier, I was saying get the link to the Amazon, but somebody already posted it. So so we're good now. We got everything up there. So this is awesome, Mark. What I want to do is you got a lot of good topics here. We already got a lot of questions coming in. I want to go
Mm-hmm.
through some of these questions because we're a little over an hour already. So
Mm-hmm.
so let's see if see what we got here. Somebody wrote one right at the beginning. So a lot of times when they write them at the beginning, they're not relevant to the topic. So if they're not relevant to the topic, I'm probably going to leave it for another call, guys. Okay, so he's asking you. So let's take a look at it. Hello,
Sure.
Mark. I feel lately I'm getting triggered of what is going on in the external, like the news, especially social media. For example, when I see people posting things in social media, I compare myself with them and judging myself. Oh, I don't have this lifestyle. Okay, but does this have to do? This doesn't have to do with the topic. Okay, or am I like them? What can I do instead to stop reacting as much on what's happening in the external, like the drama of other people? Do you want to answer that? That kind of fits, but it's kind of different.
Triggering is something, the first thing I recommend in any time that we talk about triggering is journaling. You know, what you need to do, first of all, is to observe. You got to catch yourself doing it. And it's interesting to me that when you catch yourself doing it, you know, you'll step above it. So let me give you a couple of points out of the book. And one of them is a simple one, comes from Buddhism, and it talks about how to be the non-judgmental observer of yourself. Being the non-judgmental observer is a way to be above yourself and look like you'd give advice to a best friend. You know, if somebody comes and say, hey, how do I do this, buddy? You can give advice easy to a friend. You're emotionally tied to yourself too much to even be objective. So it's a way to step above and almost do it like a meditation where you calm down, you think about it, and you just go, you let your emotions roll. What am I feeling? And you just say this to yourself. As you feel an emotion, you're like, oh, that's interesting. I'm feeling anxiety right now. That's interesting. I wonder what it's tied to. Okay. Don't judge it. Don't try to get away from it. Let it come. You can't operate on something that's not on the table. You know, the patient's got to be on the table before you can operate. So let it come out. Oh, that's an interesting emotion. All right. Okay. Don't judge it. Don't try to make it go away. Don't run from it. Just let it come. Same thing with your thoughts. What thoughts are coming up all the time? Be the non-judgmental observer of your thoughts. Wow, I keep coming up with that. And if you have a repeated thought that you can't get rid of, one of the techniques that I got this, years ago from Tony Robbins, Dr. Glover talks about it as well, is to disconnect the energy from them. It's two things you can do. This is really quick. I mean, you got to go more through the book, or you got to talk to a counselor to really go through these, but you can disconnect the emotion from any thought or memory you have. And one of the ways to do it is you just got to rewrite it. So you bring it fresh to your mind, full of emotion, you got to fully feel it, and then stop it, play it backwards, and do a little sound effect, and play it again forward. This time, put it in black and white with heavy drama music over it, and then play it this time with clown music on it. Everybody's got a rubber nose. Do this 6 or 7 or 8 times, and you can never go back to that memory, and all the emotions are torn from it. It's more complicated than that, but that just saying that alone is one technique. The other way is to disrupt it. And so if you have a thought coming up that you find regularly triggering, you just stop. You go, you know what? We are not going to think about this right now. We will come revisit this at 3:00 this afternoon. And you set an appointment to revisit something you can't get out of your head. And doing that, you can, like a child, tell yourself, go back to your corner. We'll talk about that, but then keep the appointment. If you intentionally go back to a thought to think about that you've been worrying about, you'll find that you're not as emotionally connected to it. You made an appointment to think about it, and you can rationally deal with it so much better. So if you're just journal, find out what's triggering you, look at the common threads, find a way to make an appointment to revisit it. Don't let it bother you. Say those words as a third person. Say, we are not going to deal with this right now. We'll come back with it, and set an appointment to deal with it. And you'll find yourself one by one taking the thoughts, emotions, the things that have bothered you, and just dislodging them. What I recommend is taking these ideas and having a counseling session with Sam, having a counseling session with Brian, and sit down and just get them done once and for all. And you guys can be free. That's what we want for you.
It's very much like the revealing process that we talk about. And what you're talking about there goes all the way back to NLP. The Anthony Robbins technique goes back to NLP, which is Brender, Bandler, and I forgot the other person's name. But Bandler's super famous for it. Really good stuff. Okay, I'm going to skip this next one because it's a releasing question. How much releasing should I do per day? That's up to you. How much? Let me ask it a different way. I'm not going to ask about releasing. I'm going to ask about how much mental work, like that work you just talked about, the NLP. How do you do that every day? Do you do it for a certain amount?
No, because honestly, there are things that there are only a handful. Here's the thing that I find, and I do this in counseling. It's like when you get into a positive mode and you're dealing in like the thing. You finish reading this book, you're going to be in a different. You'll be a different person. You'll operate differently, see the world differently. The things don't bother you as much. You just live in a different way. And it's funny because when I start coaching with a guy, he'll have a list of all these things he wants to get through. We get him making momentum and progress and feeling excited. And he finds out so many of these things just like they don't matter anymore. They just kind of go away. Go, you know what? You're right. That just wasn't a big deal. They don't hang on you. So I do find that if you can find the big things in your life that seem to bother you and trigger you, and you can get released from them, it's just you live free. You become different. You were able to handle. And it's like anything. You learn. Hey, I can do this. I can do this. You know, I got through this crisis. Bring it on. What else can happen? And I think there's a freedom that comes from breakthrough that says, if I could do this, what else I could do? And you know what? And so facing your fear, killing it, getting past it makes you a bigger, better person that just allows you to take more on. And here's the incentive. I want to incentivize you guys to think about this. If you ever wonder, you know, why aren't I advancing my job, or what does a CEO have that I don't have? Literally, each of these guys only get paid more because they can handle more. At the point when you max out and say, I can't handle anymore, you're done. You're not getting promoted any higher. So to be comfortable with being able to learn this stuff right now, guys, get the book, get all this stuff, because right now, if you can learn to lead in crisis, you're going to get more promotions. When things get good, you're going to be at a whole nother level. You're going to be sailing. You're going to get paid more. You get more advancements, and you'll realize I got this on so many higher levels than you have right now.
Yep, I would agree with that 100%. The CEO can handle more tension than the guy down in the mailroom for sure.
Somebody keeps asking for the book link. Just go Amazon.com and type in "how to lead in conflict."
The book link is
that
in
simple.
the chat too. If you look, there's somebody posted it in there. But
yeah.
But keep just just go back up. Brian Smith posted it. Anyways, Gary Carr, Gary.
Yeah.
Great guy. Not a question, Brian and Mark, but I just wanted to mention the 85-day countdown email for showing up and developing self-trust. Mark mentioned it at the Miami conference. I used it. Day 22 email tonight. I've never showed up so much in my life. It's my tool for life now, guys. If appropriate, please mention my gains and the idea as a tool for the rest of the guys. So I thought,
wow. Thank you. Thank you. You will honor me. Thank you. I appreciate that. I'm glad it was helpful to you.
And then I don't know, is there some place they can get a hold of that?
The 85-day pact is on my list. It will happen this year. I'm going to create a book and a program and an app and an online thing for it. And basically what it is, guys, it's a way to create an accountability group of your own to get something done. And it's very effective, and it would take more to explain than I can do now. Oh, but you know what? If they will go and pay $97 and buy all the videos from the Miami event, I do a whole talk on it. You can watch the video right there. There's a plug for you, Brian. Tell them, go buy the Miami recordings and take my third talk. I teach this, and you guys can have that. So
it's out there somewhere. Hey, guys, if you guys know where that's at, put it in the chat somewhere. Let us know. Come into the conversation. I'm talking to my team, by the way. Let's move on while they check that out. Daniel Ostrich writes, and Daniel's on every call. He's just a dedicated student. He's changing his whole life. I had a fantastic revealing call with Sam today. Thank you, Sam. I feel that if I open myself up to the deepest fear during meditation, I will feel like suffocating and have a huge panic attack. Is there a way of accepting your deepest feeling in little bits so not to have a panic attack?
Again, these are all the same kind of deep issues. And I would give the exact same advice. First of all, don't try to do this alone. Cause obviously, this one I think was an Einstein quote. He says, the thinking that got you into the problem is not the thinking that's going to get you out of it. And so when you're stuck, that means you're done thinking. You can't see it differently. You need to have somebody else come along to help you see it differently. We need to invite somebody else in to help look at it, to give you a different perspective so you can have a better solution. So that's my first thought. It's like, this is the time when you go set up a time to talk to Brian or Sam or one of his guys to get an appointment to say, what am I looking at here? What am I missing? Because you can't solve this on your own in a vacuum. Obviously you've done the best you can. So now let somebody else who's got experience helping guys have breakthroughs, have a look on that, and let them do the work.
Awesome. And somebody's asking about your shield. They love your shield. And they want to know.
Oh, thanks. Yeah, this is my interior design work in my office here. I picked the stonework and the columns, and I got little lamps up here that aren't lit right now. And so it's a decorative shield, but the sword is real.
Nice.
And it's what I wanted. Thanks.
Feel bad for anybody that breaks into your house. Grab that sword. Okay, let me look at these in emotionally calm and all that. Okay, sure. How can I tell if I am just emotionally calm in all this time, or I am actually emotionally shut down?
And that's an easy answer, because you shouldn't just be calm; you should be fully alive. And this is where I said, to me, the conclusions I came to about how to be the voice of reason was, I decided what's most important to me, and it came down to love. It came down to relationships, people, guys, relationships. When I say love, I'm not talking about girlfriend. I'm talking about enjoying deep relationships, learning how to make and enjoy good, deep relationships. It comes down to, my legacy. What am I doing that I enjoy, that's going to touch somebody else? And then what do I find that makes me happy? Those are my four things that I came down to as sort of what my voice of reason, what I decided to make sense out of all of this. So if you're doing all of that, and this is why I get the book, because if you're doing all of that you read about in this book, you're not going to just be a calm guy sitting on a couch. It's not about being calm. It's about being in control, owning it, loving it, feeling it, and just going like, this is good. Life is good. So there is a difference.
Nice. Good answer. This one I think I'll answer it really quick. It's from Reese. You say making decisions based on emotions. Does this mean, you say not to make decisions based on emotions? Does this mean not to make decisions from the lower emotions, flap, apathy, grief, fear, lust, anger, pride? Yes, that's exactly what it means. Aren't you still making decisions from emotions when the emotions joy and peace? Kind of. The way we look at joy and peace is that it is your natural state when you don't have all those other emotions. Those other emotions are, imagine you got a hose that's free flowing. That's joy and peace. The kinking of the hose creates heavier and heavier emotions. Okay. So that flowing state is your natural state of being. It's beyond emotions. So just think of it that way. But make decisions from Cap. Did you want to say anything about that?
I was anticipating that question. I thought about it earlier. I go, somebody's going to ask me that question. So do we just make decisions like a robot? Because you guys can tell from spending an hour with me, I'm a very emotional man. I love my emotions. The men are not emotional. In fact, we're probably more emotional. Go watch any war movie. We die on our emotions. We live on our emotions. We want to be fired up. We want to live fully alive. So to say I don't make decisions on emotion is not true. What I don't make is decisions on other people's emotions.
Nice.
Capiche?
There we go. Okay, let's. We got a few more. We'll get up to 13 questions. I asked this from a lot of people. What do you think about enlightenment? Big self-realization. Also, would you like to fly through a wall? Just kidding. So he's asking, what do you think of enlightenment? Do you want? It's not really on topic, but
that's okay. Enlightenment to me, it's a fuzzy thing. And to a new ager, it's going to mean one thing. To a guy who's done ayahuasca, it's going to mean something else. Enlightenment is just this. It's a huge thing. It's like, what is your opinion of happiness? To me, I think at the end of all this, to thyself be true. And I think to the much as you can know yourself, understand yourself, and accept yourself in your dark side and your light side. To me, light enlightening simply means shining a light on something. It's like I said, getting the patient on the table so you can operate on it. Can you look at yourself, your ugliness, your dark, your light, and everything, and just be 100% accepting, and then and embracing of it and loving of it? Then you can love somebody else in their imperfections too. So to me, enlightening is simply the idea of shining light on something and not being afraid of it, seeing it for what it is, loving it, and being able to do the same with others. That's as best I can do on enlightenment. Sorry, I'm not a PhD or a New Ager.
Well, you're not the Dalai Lama, so. So next one. This one's actually directed directly towards you. Mark, when the 2008 recession hit and you lost everything, what was your mentality to bounce back from that?
Oh, it was terrible, guys. It was, I'll never forget packing my boxes and shoving them in storage. It's hard when you lose something, and then you have to work, and all this work it took to then take my stuff and put it somewhere and go move into my parents'
multi-million-dollar business. That's
oh yeah, it went
lose.
from $5.5 million a year down to 250,000, and it was a distributorship. So I mean, I was a distributor for a publicly held company.
And you have all the debts that go with a $250,000 business. So.
And I filed bankruptcy. So, it's, it was loss upon loss. Interestingly enough, I'm going to give credit to my lady at the time, because she just says, what is it? She came from Ukraine, and they have a different mindset, right? And they go, what does it matter? Money comes and goes. We have each other. And she actually got excited to go, hey, let me help for a while, because my mother was telling me, hey, they're hiring down at security at the airport, just going like, I'm an entrepreneur. I just had a $500 million company. I'm going to go do security at the airport. Nothing wrong if you do that. God bless you if you do, but God called me to be an entrepreneur. So I have to stay with my calling. And so she just says, let me go work. And she got up at 1 a.m. and worked at a bakery job so I could go try to find my next business. And I was looking for opportunities, and they kept coming, and I just kept trying all of them until one hit. So, it just honestly, when you hit the bottom, first of all, keep perspective. This too shall pass, like being in the crisis. Read the book. It's the same thing. The 2008 crash, this one, it's all part of leading through crisis. It's going to change your mind.
I'll put the money that the 2008 crash was a lot more stressful for you than this one.
Oh, a lot. This is nothing to me. In fact, because I survived the LA crash and realized what's important in life, then I'm able to walk through this one like, what are you guys, you're really, I'm seriously, I'm shaking my head even 2.5 months into this going like, really?
Yeah.
Really?
I wonder, like, if people had to go through something serious like the Vietnam War, the World War II, World War I, the Great Depression, they would have a whole different take on this.
Absolutely. Well, how would Peter Jennings called the World War II generation the greatest generation? And you think about that. Not only did 1 million men volunteer to go, and half of them died, or however many millions went. Then the ladies who stayed behind, was sacrificing not only to go to work, but they're taking their pots from home to melt them to make airplane parts. And what everybody did to band together in a spirit of patriotism. And you don't hear, as the resident thought during that time was complaint. Today we whine about not toilet paper, and you're going, we just would not survive World War II. We would just curl up in a corner and just go, mother, so yeah, I agree with you. What if we had a real,
all the women,
Tom Brokaw, right? Sorry, not Peter Jennings, Tom Brokaw. Thank you for the correction, Stanley.
A lot of people don't know this, but a lot of the women went to work early in the morning in these factories, and they worked all day in these factories building planes, building tanks, building all the stuff for the men over that are out fighting the war. And so it was a whole huge effort. And then you're right, they were taking all their stuff in and giving it away so it could be turned into whatever they needed to turn it into.
I want to really bring the conversation full circle to this one thought that I think the reason we're all here today, and the reason this resonates with us, Brian, the reason we want to reach out to men is because, guys, we want to give you perspective, because we want you to rise up to be the ambassadors of hope. Get yourself anchored, get strong, realize, it's my calling as a man to lend my strength to the world around me. Well, I can't lend my strength though I'm not strong. And so you have to have a different anchored perspective. And we want that of you. We want you guys to be the ones taking this energy and this momentum and then being the contagion to spread that to the people around you. And so we're going to be the ones to come out on the other side of this, because here's the deal. Out of the end of this, which could be a couple of months, probably, some sense of normalcy will return. Then we got our wounds to lick for a long time and heal. But the guys who come out of this in a couple of months who had their head focused, who were there to realize, hey, I'm here to be there for those around me. And so I'm going to do that. You know, you guys are going to come across like bodybuilders who've been working out every day. You're going to have this sense of strength. You're going to have so many people that leaned on you and you were there for them. And the guys who are shriveled up every day, just absorbing the negative, they're going to come out with like rattled, like they're coming out of a cave and they're all nerve rattled, like they were held hostage by gunpoint for 3 months. And they're not going to be good for anything. And so to me, you have the two choices, and I don't see anything in the middle. Either you're going to bask and bathe in the nervous, negative, worry culture that we live in, or you're going to get above it and just go, bring it. What do I need to learn? How can I grow? And you got the time right now. So get the book, share it with people, pass the PDF, email it to people, get it out. I want you guys, the guys on this call, to be the anchor, to be the ambassadors for other men. Make that your mission, and it'll help you rise above. And all this stuff is going to look petty. You're not going to get stressed about this stuff anymore, because you're going to have a game plan for making that better you happen now. And you're going to be 100 times bigger, better, stronger. You're going to be getting the positions, the promotions. You're going to see the opportunities. We could do a whole nother talk on just how to observe opportunities in moments like this. That guys who see them, you know, they're the ones who come out ahead, and everybody else is just, you know, coming out of the dark corners. He's like, there's no reason for that, guys. Be the strength, be the strength, be the calm in the storm, be the one to bring reason and lead with vision into the future. And it can be simple. Leading with vision in the future can be as simple as when somebody's freaking out, you know, they're doing all this nervous energy. Here's the latest stats. Here's the latest death toll. Just calmly put your hand on their shoulder, look at me, go, you know what, bro? When this is done, we're going to go get in the boat. We're going to have some beers. We're going to have the hell of a day on the lake, man. I can't wait. And in an instant, you just reframed the whole conversation, took the energy, shared some love, and pointed to a positive future like that. It's not mysticism. Leadership is not guru shit. It's just going like, let's be hooked on what's good, man. Let's be the ones to lead. Let's be the ones to see it coming and make it happen out of our own mindset.
We're at 12:30 now, so we're an hour and a half in. I'm going to ask one more question. I'm going to ask the last question, Eric. What are some of your core beliefs that empower, enable you to lead triumphantly through crisis?
My core beliefs are, first of all, that I immediately assume, and guys, please hold on to this one. And I'll say this, I want you to carefully, because if you'll absorb this and take it with you the rest of your life, you're going to be at a different place. There's some people who get freaked out about things, and whether they're in crisis or out of crisis, and, you know, like the baby seals, I mean, or, you know, whatever, they get this thing. They're all like me, like, don't you understand that baby seals are, you know, or global warming, whatever it is, they're in your face about this stuff. And in my attitude is, if that emotionally gets you upset, that you emotionally identify with that cause, that's because you're the one being called to help solve it. Not me, so go. What are you doing about it, man? Obviously, this bothers you. Everybody's been called to something. We can't do everything. Greenpeace can't do everything. You know, the United Nations, the WHO, they can't do everything. But whatever upsets you, it's on you. So here's the thing. When you see things coming up, pay attention to what bothers you. You know, what bothers me about this is this. Why? And in a sense, it's because it's being called upon you to be the solution. And think about it that way. If it wasn't part of you to want to fix it, it wouldn't be in you. So when you have something come up that really bugs you, the way people are responding, the way this happens or whatever happens, and you go, how can I be there to make this better? At least to my circle of influence, because this doesn't make sense to me, and I want to be there so give it some purpose. Some things are just not going to bother you. You're just not going to care. I mean, some things don't, and that's fine. Don't feel guilty about them. You can't do everything. But for the things that, you know, that do bother you, think about why and make it your purpose. What I'm trying to do is give you purpose out of this stuff. So that's my answer to this, is like, think about what's bothering you. And if it bothers you, think, well, maybe I'm supposed to do something about it and own it. And I think that's what helps me come out of these things. I look at this stuff going down and I see these people doing this and this and this. And I go, then you know what? Then it's probably, then I'm the one who's supposed to try to help. I'm probably supposed to do something about it. So whenever a crisis comes, a panic comes out, I realize that it's upon me to be the one to lend my strength to the world around me. That is always the definition of masculinity, is that your purpose in being a man is so you can lend your strength to just the people you touch, your influence, your sphere. How can I lend my strength to the world around me today? And so that's true whether you're in crises or out of crises. So even more when you're in crises, do I need to do more to girder myself up? I mean, to this day, every day, I start off with a YouTube video, like that's one of the motivational videos. I hit my brain with something good that's going to make me feel good and empowered to start my day. And then when I go out, it's very easy to already be in a good place of comfort, calm, strength, love, be appreciative, gratitude, put you in a great place. And out of that zone, it's if you're aware of how you can lend yourself this to, if you're not a believer, not in terms of spiritual things, I just believe sometimes things are brought in your path because you're the strong one, that they know you can help and you can handle it. And so I kind of believe that. I lead my day with that. Like today, things are going to come my way because somebody needs my strength. And I want to be there for them. And not to shy away from it. That's my calling. So why would we shy away from our calling? And at the end of the day, nobody's going to remember the guy who sat on his couch and did nothing out of fear. There's a proverb, one of the ancient proverbs of Solomon, he says, the fool has said in his heart, I can't go outside because there might be a lion on the streets, and so he does nothing. It's the lazy man, the coward, the lazy man says that. And, and we're not that. Nobody remembers that guy. Nobody remembers the rich guy who just drank martinis and ran around on his boat all day long. But they remember the guy who sucked it up, who suffered, who struggled. And if every day, here's what I'd recommend to you. I'd close with this. Go get the quote from Roosevelt. I think it was like 1914. He did the thing. It's not, it's not to the critic who counts. It's not the man who can point out how the strong man did weakly or poorly. No, the credit belongs to the man in the arena who's marred by blood and sweat and toil, who at worst case scenario, if he knows failure, he at least failed trying greatly. But if he wins victoriously and understands that. But no matter what, win or fail, his place will never be among those weak and timid souls who will do nothing and therefore never know victory or defeat. Read that every morning, memorize it, wake up and make that part of your call. That'll empower your masculinity to say, you know what, whatever the case may be, I'm going to be engaged. I'm going to be in the world. I'm going to strengthen myself, put my oxygen mask on first. And the second part of that is, before you help somebody else, there's got to be a desire to want to help somebody else. If you wanted to, hey, you can die. I don't care. I just got my ass. No, you want to be at a place to say, look, you're being given strength for a reason. You're being given things for a reason. I don't have to guide them. I don't have to look for them. You don't have to look for them. It's an effortless life. You just show up. And the stuff that's supposed to show up to you shows up. It's a great life. It's effortless. Get the emotional freedom so you can enjoy, feel it, smell the air, see the sunshine. Get your strength in the morning. Get your mojo on. Get some walk in. Get some exercise. And then just go out there and say, hey, God's put me here on this earth. I'm going to be there for people around me. And whatever comes my way, I know it's on purpose. And whatever I can do, I can. And I can't solve everybody's problem, but whatever little thing I can do, I'm here. And so then crises becomes like no other day. They're all the same. Crises, no crises. I'm here to help somebody in crisis. I'm here to help somebody who's not in crisis. I don't care. I live my life by my choices. I choose to love every day. I choose to enjoy. I choose to bask in friendships and not be isolated. That's the worst thing for single guys. Don't just make complete isolation. If you got to stay on calls like this, get on your buddy, get on video, feel the energy of your buddy. This morning, it was last night for my friend. Early morning, I'm in Ukraine, so our time zones are switched. My buddy Justin, he was having a cigar. So I literally had an hour and a half where he was enjoying a cigar and I was on the other end. It was like we're having cigars together, and I didn't feel alone, so fill yourself up, lend your strength to the world, just show up and let your story tell itself. You don't have to force it. You don't have to make it up. Your story is being written as you go. Just show up and see what's on today's page and be prepared to say, all right, how can I lend my strength? And just step into it. And then fear becomes a non-issue. I'm called to lend my strength to the world around me. Show me how, God. I'm here. What can I do today?
Awesome. Good way to end the call. And what was the Bible verse again? Somebody has asked. That's the last question here.
There's a proverb. It says Oh, I actually put it in the book. It's one of the proverbs of Solomon, where he says, the lazy man has said, I cannot go in the streets, or there might be a lion. So it's in the book. You can also find it there, or you could go to BibleGateway.net or .com, Bible Gateway, and you can do keyword searches on that and find all this kind of stuff if you really want to know.
Awesome. So I want to thank you for being here. Now, I know you got a big project in the works. Do you want to talk about
Yes.
that, or do you want to announce it later? What do you want to do?
I will tease it now, and then you and I are going to really have a lot of fun with this. So we are doing on June 1st, we're launching what I believe is going to be the biggest online men's summit of this year, because people aren't meeting in person. We're going to get Brian, everybody we can into this and really create an amazing online summit. And so in it, we're going to have about 25 different of speakers, and I got a couple celebs I'm going to try to get in, guys speakers, and all of it is going to be there to help elevate us. I'm literally calling this summit Ambassadors of Hope. And obviously the speakers are the ambassadors, but we're going to commission all of us to be ambassadors, to reach our communities with this message of energy and to lift up and change the tone in our culture. And it's got to start. Guys are going to call me sexist, but it's got to start with the men. Guys, we have to be the first ones to lead our culture and to change the tone in this culture. And so we're going to bring our leaders together, and we're going to be doing this. So be looking for stuff, more about it in May. But right now I'm starting to make the calls and starting to gather Brian and I are reaching to our networks and pulling out some people and going to have a great summit. So be looking for that coming up. You'll hear more about it in May, but you get to be the first to hear about it.
Nice. You'll either hear about it from me or Mark, and it'll definitely be out there one way or another. So awesome. Get the book, Total Man. That the link is on there. What was it? Fearlessman.com/Total Man.
Yeah, the reason it's on there is because I do this club called the Total Man Club, and the PDF is on one of the pages on totalman.club. But anyway, Total Man, Fearless Man, the fearlessman.com/Total Man. Go get it. And it's free. Go share that with guys. If you get the book, please leave a 5-star review. We want this. And honestly, it's $14. It's only it's less than 100 pages. Buy 10 copies and pass them to your friends. And let's fix this problem in this country and start it with us.
And then the book is How to Lead in Crisis. You can find it on Amazon. So there's been some links posted to that in the chat already. So make sure to check that out. And like he said, give him a review, give him a good review, and let's get it out there. I want to thank Mark for being here. He's awesome. He's calling in from Ukraine. It's pretty late there right now, right?
It's 10:41 p.m.
10:41 p.m. And so it's all, 9 hours later, whatever it is, 9 or 10 hours later, it's quite a bit later. So I want to thank you for calling in your evening. It was awesome having you. And guys, let's see here. Make sure that we're going to post this video, I'm pretty sure, in the Facebook group. So make sure to like, subscribe, share it with anybody you can, anybody you think could use it. Just get it out there. And the likes really help the engine and keep everything moving. And if you're on YouTube watching any of this, also make sure to like, subscribe, and share. Subscribe, hit that notification button, and share, because again, we're trying to get these messages out there to encourage people. And you can share with women, men, whoever. Just get it out there. And we really appreciate that, because it allows us to bring you a lot more great content like this and keep building on it. So I want to encourage you to take action right now. Also to comment in the video. We learn a lot about what you want more of from the comments, and we check out those comments all the time. We're responding to them all the time. So if you got anything you're thinking about saying, as long as it's not rude or nasty, just post it in the comment section. And I think that's it. Is there anything you want to say in closing?
You know what? I tell you honestly, guys, I love Brian. I love him with my heart. You guys have no idea how lucky you are to have him as your leader and to hear his wisdom, and especially guys who get to hear it every day. You're blessed. And I want you, as your daily gratitude, to be thankful that you get to be associated with him and absorb that energy and the wisdom and stuff, that the calm and the masculinity that comes out of him, and let that be one of your influencing factors that's going to make you that man. So Brian, I always love hanging out with you. And
Everybody love you.
As we tell all the guys, it's like, you got this.
And remember, only the confident really live. We'll see you in the next video. Love you, Mark. Take care, guys.
Hey, you live too, bro. All right, bye.